Hello and welcome to Across the Buc'n Pond, the show that is across the pond. Myself, obviously being English, doing this nice little show, courtesy of Bucs Report. We cover usually the review of the last game and the preview of the next game. Seeing as we're in a bye week, there's not much to look forward to in that sense. But we'll talk about a bit of the football news that's been kind of going around, where our Seattle Seahawks prevailed against our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Our Tampa Bay Buccaneers prevailed against the Seattle Seahawks 21-16, and we finally get a bit more of a victory, and we're ready to rock and roll. What did we get out of this game? We got a lot out of it, to be honest. We got to see a bit more. What I'd say that was probably the most complete performance by a Buccaneer team this year. So I'm quite pleased with that. Was it great? No. The trick play, dumb. But ultimately, defense turned up, and we did it. We did a few things that we needed to do. So I'm pretty pleased with what we did. Let's talk about the meat. Let's have a look what's going on. And as I always say, guys, hit the like button, strip the subscribe button, sack that notification button, and intercept me in the comments. Okay, guys. So my positives of this game. Rachaad White. I mean, not more can be said about a guy who gains that kind of yardage. Rookie himself, he didn't play like a rookie that day. I believe his yardage totals were pretty darn special. Could have capped it off with a bit more, but and I'm talking like touchdowns and what have you. But to get 105 yards, it's pretty special. No fumbles, no touchdowns though, which is, it would have been nice to cap that off and give him that, but it wasn't to be. So it happens, and I think he's only going to get stronger, and I think he's a great 1-2 punch with Lenny Fournette. Hopefully we see a little bit more of that. Devin White comes out and has probably his best game of the season so far. 2 sacks, I think it was like 9 tackles, and a forced fumble. So I'm pleased with that. Always want my guy Devin White to do well, as I want all our players to do well, to be fair. But Devin White stepped up to the plate. He had a bit of sad news in his life. Maybe that kind of led to a bit of a slump he had going into that game. But hey, he seemed to rectify that from that Rams game. He only got stronger, and in this game, he really shined and was really special. Really pleased with that. And then ultimately, we had a rare sighting from the Yeti, from Bigfoot, in Julio Jones. Julio Jones came out, scored a lovely crossing route touchdown, and really set the Buccaneers up nicely to really start being really aggressive on play calling and aggressive as an offense. So he really helped kickstart that offense going, and he was great to see. It was great to see him emerge. Chris Godwin started to look a little bit more of his own self. There's so many positives about this game. This is fantastic to talk about. Defense got away with takeaways. They were sacking the quarterback. It was all fun and games. This felt like a game. The scoreline flatters Seattle. It really does. That game, if you take away the trick play, was probably a guaranteed 3 at bare minimum. And then we know they drove that ball at the end of the fourth. They could have, if they really wanted to, they could have punched that into the end zone. And you're looking at a game that's in its late 27-16. Is a completely different ball game. You turn those into touchdowns, and you're looking at a 35-16 game. Hey, that's pure and pure win. But it is what it is. But let's go out of the positives and let's go a little bit more negative. Now, I don't want to be downbeat because that's not my vibe. It's not the way I go. But you've got to look at the negative. Some of the play calling on offense was a little bit pedestrian. Now, I know my guy, AJ Turner of It's About Booking Time, who joins me on the Aftermath show, is very critical of Byron Leftwich, and rightfully so. There has been some questionable things, and what people have to understand is this is really his first time being an offensive coordinator where the head coach is kind of leaving him alone. I'm 100% sure that Coach Bowles is just leaving him to it. So he is this is pure unadulterated bowls. You'll get pure unadulterated left, which you're getting, which means he's going to be prone to mistakes because he's got no one to kind of pull him out of it. He's going to be prone to play cool blunders, and I think he's got to find his rhythm a bit more. Because if something was being called and he didn't like it, BA would probably say that wasn't liked. BA would probably say something. He did say he never played cool, but he would put suggestions in and he would kind of pull out bonehead moves kind of thing. I don't think he used that terminology exactly, but that's kind of where we're at. And yeah, that's my biggest negative. And I didn't like the fact that we gave up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I would like to have finished, but they kind of figured out what we're doing on offense, on defense. And Bowles, unfortunately, he needs to finish. He needs to find a way to finish games a little bit better, because I'd say the one thing he's not good at is finishing with a lead if his team's not scoring on a regular basis. So he needs to be able to adapt. Now, what I don't like is everyone calls it soft cushion. I don't call it soft cushion. Do you know what I call it? I call it playing way, 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 way off. The guys play at the sticks. They play at the first down mark. They play at the first down marker. I'm telling you, when you play at the first down marker, you are stood there, you're reading, your eyes are the quarterback. You're reading what I call a triangle. Your eyes are flipping from quarterback to receiver, quarterback to receiver. It's flip, 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 right? You are stood completely stationary. You see a hard release from a DK Metcalf or a Tyler Lockett or whoever you're going up against. You are bailing into coverage because you have to, because you're worried about the deep threat. You got to play it deep first. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. So what do? You bail into coverage. What do? They hit the break, they turn around, they catch the ball, and they take it to the Sammy sideline. Sammy sideline's your friend because he's going to save you clock, and he's going to stop you getting licked 9 times out of 10. So that's why I don't like playing off. I'd like to still play at 6, maybe play at 7. I'm not a fan of it. It's just not me. But I'm not an offensive coordinator and the national defensive coordinator, and I'm getting my things flipped up today. Everything's kind of flipped upside down. I do apologize, guys. Anywho, I'm not a defensive coordinator in the National Football League, so I have no reason to criticize. I just don't. That's just my philosophy. I don't ever want to see people play off. I think I had a thing where we were fourth and 20, and I still made them play at the 15-yard mark. I don't like playing so off because you're left flat-footed, and you're having to guess what they're doing or read them incredibly well. And if you bite on the shallow release, which you don't want to do, it's wide open. And this is why my prevent coverage is cover 4, but what I want is my 2 corners to play hands at 5, play the hands at 5, jam, reroute, and just bail into coverage. That's what I want. Bail into coverage, match their speed, stay with them, and the two safeties can double team if needs be. That's my philosophy. That's how I like to run. But I'm not an defensive coordinator in the National Football League, so we'll go away with that, and that's what it is. This tonight will probably be a short shirt because there's not a heck of a lot going on, so I do apologize for that. But we do have Buc Wild coming on in about an hour and a half, so you guys won't be missing content. So we had a little bit of news about a former Buccaneer in Say It Isn't Sue. Well, it is Sue, and Sue signed from what I can see. I mean, I don't know the reports because I haven't dug deep into them. I've been dealing with a lot of family stuff. My son is about to turn 4, so we had a birthday party for him today. Might explain why I'm a bit scrambled because I woke up a bit early. But hey ho, it is what it is. So Sue goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that I really don't have a soft spot for. I don't particularly like them. Nothing against them. I just seem arrogant. And I'm hearing that he signed for about $2.5 million. I'm like, Bucs, come on. You put him in that rotation. If Hicks gets hit again, you can call the season off because since Hicks has been back, someone put up a stat. I don't know how true the stat is, but with Hicks, we are 4-0. Without Hicks, we're like what 5-1. What? Sorry, 1-5. That shit's not good. We got to tighten that up. Um, so it shows what he brings to the table. So having to be able to sign someone like Sue for 2.5 mil or even $3 million should have been a real slam dunk. And I'm pretty sure the Buccaneers have that in cap space. So I'm not buying on that. But he's gone away, and the rich get richer. A team that is lost its first game is now about to go against is now about to get even stronger in another position in the trenches, no less. So could this signing come back to bite us in the ass and we go up against him in the playoffs? Maybe we'll see. It makes interesting content for sure. So James Canada, the former defensive tackle for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has came out and said a few things about it was a Devin White redemption game. It was, do some people owe Devin White an apology? Well, let's talk about this. Is Devin White owed an apology? It depends. It really does. It depends on what you said. If you're one of those people who said they should have the C ripped off his chest. I mean, Sap can say that because Sap's been in the trenches. Sap's been a dude. He's a Hall of Famer. He's got Pro Bowls. We're talking about like us people, like normal people who haven't played this game at the NFL level, right? If you call out a play, like when I actively saw people saying we should trade him at the trade deadline. We should trade him. He's the next Quan Alexander. He's trash. He's trash. He's trash. He's trash. Buccaneers need to get rid of him. He's never going to get another contract. Look, this is all from 2 games. Like he didn't have the greatest season last year, but he wasn't bad at all. Not even close. We wanted to take a bigger step, but look, it is what it is. Players don't always play at a 99. Sometimes they play at a 72. And he had a couple of games where he played very poorly. My take on it was, well, he's too talented of a player to let this continue. He should be able to fix this. And of course, we find out that the thing about his father, he looks like a carbon copy of him, like just older. That was weird, but kind of cool at the same time. He now goes into a game where he's going to play professional football. Now, how many of us? I mean, I don't know about everyone in the world, but I know when I lost my mother, I really struggled quite a lot. I was probably slightly older than Devin White. I believe Devin White's 24, 25. I was about 27. And at the time, I had no children. I wasn't married, blah, blah, blah. It took me a while to figure stuff out. I can guarantee you I did not go to work for about a week at least. For at least. So, for him to do what he did, that's commendable. I just want everyone to take a moment here now. These aren't Madden players. This isn't a game of Madden. These are human beings. They have feelings. They go through shit, divorces, deaths, family members, drama, kids, all that stuff is on their minds. So, and sometimes that will cause their play to drop and heighten because, like us, when we're feeling good, we do our jobs well, or we do what we're doing well. We're feeling bad, we're not so great, and that's okay. And I think he's got him out of the slump. I got himself out of the slump. So my answer to this is: do we owe the Devin White apology? It depends on what you said. If you called him straight up trash, you probably owe him an apology. If you're saying he played like trash, you're valid. That you're not saying he's trash. You're saying his play was trash, and that's absolutely fine because he didn't play well. There's nothing wrong calling that out. It's how you call it out. So we have our first comment of the day. It's been a quiet one for me so far today. Audio is weird. Okay, well let's move things a bit closer. I'll put the mic, bring this bugger back, and see where we are. Because unfortunately, I can't hear myself, so I don't know. I'll have to watch this back and see what's going on. Yeah, but let's move on. So yeah, Devin White is owed an apology. It depends on what you said. in my opinion. White is right. And by that, I mean Rashad White. Is he the right guy? Is he the guy to go for? Because everyone's like, oh, start him now. Start him. And because he went. But what people don't understand is in the games that we struggle to run the football, he struggled just as much to run the football too. So let's not just sell the horses just yet. You know, I think there's more to come. I think build him in, and I think he's a great 1-2 punch. I think if you look at how teams run, if teams are running with speed instead of power, then I say you try and beat them with speed and go with a Rashad White. And I think if you're going to go with power, then you got to go Lenny Fournette because he's just going to push it. So no, not yet. There's more to be seen. That's all I can say. Hopefully any audio issues have been cleared up. If anyone's watching and can comment, please let me know in the comments what is weird about the audio, because I can't hear myself. So I can hear myself like this with my mouth, but I'm not getting any feedback on this. So BA, Leftwich and Brady. This feels like a familiar story, doesn't it? Yeah. BA has come out and said the slump that the Buccaneers were in was more down to Brady than Leftwich. I think it's both, personally. I don't think Leftwich called particularly great plays. I think some of his play calling was a bit poor. And I'm going to tell you something now. I've never called plays in an NFL game. I've never been an NFL offensive coordinator. Hell, I've never been an offensive coordinator. I've never been an offensive positional coach, right? I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but I read stories on that the drive where we scored against the Rams and K. Dotton got the ball, that was a Tom Brady picked play. And Byron wanted to run the ball with 8 seconds on the clock. That doesn't go in, the game is dead. There's no way you're going to run. You're very unlikely to run another play in that time. So I don't really understand what he was trying to achieve there. If that's true, that's abysmal play call. That's some real questionable stuff. We do have a guest coming in, and it is my guy, Tampa Bay Ray from Cup Ray, added to the stream. How are you, my brother?
Good, brother. And if I'm picking up where you're leaving off, I'm thinking you're talking about some of those calls this season that didn't seem like they were like normal, going for the jugular. Tom Brady, the history of Tom in the pros, and it makes me. And I wonder, there was a chasm with this team. The offense was not producing. Tom's head wasn't in the game. He wasn't leading these guys like he should. The defense was almost, Devin White says, I got bored. And it almost feels now, looking back, maybe at 5-5, still with a good portion of the season to go, it almost seems like maybe Todd Bowles was trying to teach these guys that they're either going to play it conservative or they're going to have to all get on the same page to let everything fly. That's the only thing I can think.
I mean, for me, I would like to see turn around. I said to a couple of people now, if they're holding the playbook back, now's the time to open it, please. You can't really get away with that. What you drinking there, Tampa Bay Ray?
Oh, you like that? Yeah,
it's a Blue Moon.
Little hazy little thing, little Sierra Mist, something I got this summer when we were in the Carolina Mountains. I got to visit the act. My wife took me on the tour for the day at the brewery there, Sierra Nevada, and happens to be one of my favorites, brother. But what do you got on your end? Usually you have you have a little something to drink.
Yeah, I'm just going with a simple rum and Coke at the moment.
There you go. It's Saturday night. Saturday night's all right for a fight.
Saturday night is all right. So here's the thing. When I was watching, I heard about this Rams game. I don't know if you know about this. The K. Dotton touchdown was a Tom Brady play. Tom Brady turned around to Byron Leftwich and go, I want to call this. And he said, yeah, go ahead. You do it. Apparently, there was a run play with 8 seconds to go on the 1 yard line. That's what Byron had dialed up.
Now it makes sense. The reason they talk right after the game, you hear Otten, the rookie's first touchdown catch as a pro, and he said that this was a special play that him and Tom had worked on that week, and it sounded like Gronk and Brady. It took us back down that memory lane, which was nice. And now you realize that that's like the inner workings of how the politics of a football team works. They didn't come out right at the moment and say, well, coach wanted to run it, but we were working on his play. But they emphasize the fact that they're working on that play together, which again starts to put 53 on the same page, which starts to paint a pretty narrative.
It does. I mean, it does show a little bit of. I think the thing with people are going to expect about Leftwich as a play caller is technically this is his rookie season because he's always had BA over his shoulder to kind of go, nah.
Wait, no. Did you say that it was Leftwich who had the run dialed up and then they ran that play?
Yes.
Wow, that does not paint like the picture that kumbaya moment I was just making. So yeah, we've already seen that not work this year.
You got to understand though, if that ball does not go in, it's over.
Over.
You take a shot. You take a shot. You take a shot with a pass. With 8 seconds, with Tom Brady's release, you've got 2, maybe a third if he's quick. He goes, but not there. Not there.
Oh.
He can do that. With a run, you are you're putting your balls on the table and just go, let's see who's got the hammer.
We've already seen the run not work on 4th and 1 72 times in 2022. So why would you dial it up you got the greatest quarterback in the history of the National Football League, the improviser, who smiled at practice for the first time going into this game against the Seahawks. So you already knew it seemed like he was starting to get to that good, happy place again. And you're going to put the ball on the ground when it hasn't worked instead of keeping it in the hands of the greatest of all time. Almost sounds like Aaron Rodgers when they go for 3 and take the ball out of his hand in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. These quarterbacks or these coaches outguess themselves.
Yeah, I think sometimes they can estimate stuff, and maybe they're hoping that because the run isn't successful that they will sell out. But what I noticed when I was watching Buc football in this whole season so far, and it wasn't so much in Munich, but and again, the same with the game against the Rams, but in a lot of the games, you can guess what the Buccaneers are going to do pre-snap on offense before they do it. You can guess that run pass. And I've been trying to tell people that if you're a linebacker or a DB and you know it's run or pass pre-snap, that sets you up for success because you're able to fit the run quicker because there's no hesitation. Now, when your run formation and your passing formation, so let's say your 2x2 spread formation, that's your bread and butter for the sake of argument.
Okay.
And you run you can run passes out of it and you can run plays out of it. And you can run your play action. That keeps the team. I have to read. I need to get my read and then I can go react.
Yeah.
But if you know, this is that run formation that they always do, I don't need to do anything. Now, it worked for the Buccaneers in the past. Why? Because they were just successful doing it. When you can do it, and it's the case of like, you know what we're doing? Stop us.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. They know what we're doing, and they're stopping us, and we're still trying to do it. That's the problem.
And the difference there being that if it's a pass play, you got your guys setting up it's a pass block and you're giving the defense a tipping off the hand and they're rushing you harder. And if it's a run play, you're not giving anybody a chance, let alone your running backs or blockers to get to the next level to make it a successful run and to pick up. And that's why, man, when you see Rachaad White run for 29 yards and you see them running the ball against Seattle, all of a sudden you're like, okay, the offense is finding their way out of here. Leverett's looking good at left tackle. Goodecki, probably the rookie, should have been sitting all this time. Is Jensen coming back after the bye week? Stay tuned. And now we're like, oh, okay, everything's fine again. But truth of the matter is this team still has a long way to go because we saw them getting close to being on the same page, but they're still got some breakdowns.
And the way I looked at it is this was probably the closest we've seen since Dallas that the Buccaneers looked like a complete team.
Yeah.
Because as much as the Buccaneers did pass it in that game, but they also ran the football. The reason the Buccaneers were successful is because they were able to get success on the ground. What I want Leftwich to learn from these games is when the run isn't there, you've got the greatest of all time, you've got Chris Godwin, you've got all these wide receivers. Why are you making them run block? Use them for what you've bought them for. Catch balls, score touchdowns, and have a good time. Look,
yes.
I get being a physical football team can take you very, very far. I get it. You look at the 49ers, their bread and butter is physical football. They're not known for throwing bombs every left, right, and center. It makes for boring football, but it makes usually for winning football because you're starving a team at the ball. But we go quick 3 and outs, and then it's over. And we're relying so hard on that defense. Yeah. It's cutting the throat.
Let me ask you this, Coach Stevie. Let me tell you. Tell me yes or no. We saw it in the Munich game. We saw that German and a lot of, by association of everyone traveling there to Germany 2 years past that epidemic in a better place. We saw the chant. And one thing that soccer, and we know that you and I, neither one of us are big soccer guys. We're football guys. But do the football games there in England, when you're playing and growing up and playing in the leagues and stuff like that, do they ever get the chant like this? Sweet Caroline and the whole country road songs going, and does that atmosphere come into football on that side of the pond, or is it just generally with the soccer that carries over when they play in these soccer stadiums?
I think it's just the thing with like American football that it can be stop-starty. So when there's like a quarter break or a timeout, that's obviously when the media team in the stadium will put music on and do dance cams and all that kind of stuff. And I think they just hit a sweet spot. The Sweet Caroline thing that the England soccer team did, I think that was just off the cuff and it just stuck, and it's kind of been their identity ever since, even though it's got nothing, the Neil Diamond's got nothing to do with our culture whatsoever. Yeah. It is the weirdest song that they picked, but it's stuck and it's kind of their vibe now. Like you play that now and England people go nuts.
Yeah, and I DJ, right? I'll MC events, and every event that I'm playing music for, if it's a dance, I do a daddy-daughter dance every year. I always work in Sweet Caroline near the end because it's that ba 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 ba. It's that song. But I posed this week because of, by very association with what those fantastic international fans did in Munich for the Bucs in that big game against Seattle. If the Raymond James crew isn't queuing up Sweet Caroline, you know, we play on the road after the bye in Cleveland, but then we come back home here. If they're not queuing up Sweet Caroline for the fourth quarter and try to make that a thing here, they're missing the boat, because it really was a great moment for us, even not there in Munich for that game, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did the John Denver. It was the John Denver song, wasn't it?
Yes.
Country Roads. Yeah, you got to have that queued up as your song. If you're the Bucs media team in the stadium, you've got to have that ready to go. You can't overplay it. You've got to use it sparingly.
Yeah, like you said, effectively, that right moment, right?
You've got to find that sweet spot. And they turned up. The fans turned up in that game. I have to say, watching a game on, I watched the game at home with my family. I've never seen a crowd so into a game in such a long time. That wasn't like a championship game, or it had such a buzz. It was so noisy. I mean, in some ways, it was bad for the Bucs because the Seahawk fan or people cheering for third down when the Buccaneers are at third down, where you want them to be.
They were loud. No, it was
loud.
It was over 50% Seattle, right? Bucs fans were representing. We had so many.
I think that very 50-50 to me.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, what I'm saying is you're okay 50-50, but when we had the ball third down, you hear the crowd making noise, or when we're on offense, and at first you're like, oh, they're just cheering because it's Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. And then you're like, wait, son of a bitch, they're actually making noise and we're trying to get first down that first drive. So, But I'll tell you what, though, this was the first game. I've seen the games at Wembley. I go back to the World League of America Football, Frankfurt, Germany, the Frankfurt Galaxy, and all that. I've always wanted to come over there. I want to be there for the game just so I could be part of that atmosphere and be able to enjoy it in a different place. But that Munich game suddenly made me, as an NFL fan, as a Buccaneers fan and an NFL fan, go, I'm looking forward to a game in Munich every year, because damn, that was a fun time. And man, I'd like to be there next time.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was watching it, I had all the vibes. I was like, yeah, that. I felt and I had an opportunity to go, but it was expensive plane tickets and things like that, so couldn't get it going. And it was very last minute. I got told like the week before. It's like, oh, there's a ticket available, $72, and I'm like,
what?
Yeah, but the flight and hotel there was going to cost close to $500.
Coach, see, you're too domesticated like me, because if you think about it, we got family and kids, but if you were 18 and 24, we'd have grabbed a backpack, a pair of flip flops, and a cut off shorts, and you'd have been on a bus getting over there and backpacking through the Alps to get there or something. But no, I kid.
Absolutely. I completely agree. But that probably would have, and in the past that probably would have had. If there were no kids involved, it probably wouldn't even have been. It would have been a no-brainer. But like, we'll talk. I just won't eat for a few years. That's it. I won't buy a few jerseys. It's fine. It'll be fine. I'll make that money back. But
yeah, good stuff.
It was good fun. So hopefully they'll continue to do those. But the cool thing about this is the Buccaneers have been designated Germany's team them, and I think it was Kansas City. I think also the Seahawks. They kind of pigeonhole teams into certain countries, so they're planning on this moving around the international series more, which is why there's that extra game now. So
Yeah.
they can, in theory, have 16 games going over, so no one ends up with a neutral site because everyone's got one every single year. I don't know how that's going to work in the future, but Germany was a place they wanted to test. It's got a huge American football fan base. The GFL is an extremely respected league around the world. A lot of a fair few players have come there and joined the NFL ranks.
Yeah.
In the past. The GFL was probably probably the most successful league that follows the American rule. So you can put the CFL in that.
I got that. I saw a piece on the football on the football channel that day, but I'll tell you what, the NFL's already got their 17 games. They want to make it 18 at one point. They're going to have 2 preseason games. Do away with the entire preseason. Just physically train. Go to the stadium, turn the lights on, have a blue pewter red game, or like a college game, like blue and red or whatever. But if the NFL could figure out a way to get a second bye week into the season, maybe even a third bye week, maybe even, silly as it sounds, to move the season up and actually start it in mid-August or let it run till end of February. If you could give these players, as you're giving them more games to play, give them more chances to have stretches of 2 weeks off, but then also the parlay for that, or the quid pro quo, would be they could get it. They could make these international games more and a scheduled part of the NFL schedule. Now you can actually start thinking about putting a team over there in England, putting a team over there in Germany, because you're giving and you're taking, you're finding a happy medium. And I think we're all learning that it's fun to watch international peoples of all countries enjoying this sport that we love so much.
And that's the kind of thing that the NFL has had to struggle with, because you have like soccer as an international sport, rugby as an international sport, and there are other team sports that are also kind of highly rated. And the American football world is a little bit more niche. It's a little bit more different, and it's now finding more and more footing. Every year it gains more and more momentum. So you can really see that with like the attendances at our camps in the UK. We have the NFL come over and do an NFL combine over here for the youth, and they're scouting for talent over here. We have players now going to colleges over in the US. So it really is starting to become more the normal kind of vibe. You can have that dream of being in the UK and dreaming of being an NFL player, because it's not far-fetched anymore. It is possible.
Yeah, and that's just it. You're not going to push football on anyone who doesn't want it. I think Americans have proven that you're not going to push soccer on them. And I think we're getting, and I make that analogy because we're getting ready for the World Cup to start this week. This is our exciting time. This is the World Cup. It's so much fun to watch, but Americans in general, we'll get into it. Well, why? Okay, well, and then we'll, we're asleep by the second half. And it's, of course, it's the lack of offense. I'm not putting soccer down, or football, if you will. I love it, but I'm just at the end of, we're so used to football with 11 on 11, people crushing skulls on every play. And then soccer, there's great soccer. You got to respect the sport. You got to respect the athletics involved, but then it doesn't transfer, but it's starting to pick up a little over here.
I can't get into it. It's too, as soon as I see the ball go backwards, I'm like, no, I'm done. And I understand what they're trying to do. I understand that they're trying to manipulate bodies and move them around. Right. But it looks so lethargic to watch. And I'm like, oh, God, it's gone backwards again. I can't do it. I don't think, take away from me being a child, I don't think I've ever watched a full game of soccer in my life.
See, you're an old soul, because you harken back to the times when... Yeah. Well, when war was just, okay, our guys, and we're not going to go backwards. We just push forward until we're 5 feet from each other and we're like stabbing each other. Whereas, then you get into guerrilla warfare. You get into the things where it's retreat and attack from here. And I'm not saying over history, of course, we'll look at great battles of history, going back with Napoleon Bonaparte and the French. But I guess at the same time, it's like I'm the same way. It's like push forward, not really one of those guys to strategically pull back just to get them move here so we could push over here. But you're right. That's kind of the big difference there. That's the thing with soccer.
Yeah, I think Americans would probably enjoy watching rugby more than they would enjoy. Like if you're going from football fan, it's not a far cry away. The contact level is a little bit different because They don't wear any pads whatsoever. I mean, they have voluntary under padding, which is like that kind of honeycomb kind of stuff like that they have. It's more like foam padding. There we go.
Right.
They have like foam padding if they choose to. Realistically, the only mandatory thing they need to wear is the mouth guard, and that's it.
That's crazy.
But the level of contact is capped at what you can and can't do. You can't take someone off their feet. You physically can't pick someone up. You don't see anyone upended.
Right.
You have to physically wrap your arms around somebody. A no arms tackle is a yellow card, which is you going off the field for 10 minutes,
right.
which can cost your team massively.
Oh wow!
So you do something stupid like that, you're off the field. You're off the field for 10 minutes, and you're down from 15 men to 14 men. They got the full 15. And then there's what they call multiple infringements. When a team's trying to score against you and you keep stopping them because of penalties, they will automatically just eject somebody. Whoever made did the last wrong thing, they're just gone. They're like, you're gone. You keep committing red zone penalties. You're done.
I feel stupid that I'm going to say this because I'm not trying to put any sport down, but compared to football, it just seems completely like more of a gentlemanly sport. And I don't mean football is just, it is what it is. It's have your head on a swivel because someone's coming to take your block off and they'll hurt you as hard as possible. In rugby, you see a good rugby scrum. There's some stuff going on in there that we can't even talk about on PGTV, right? But at the same time, it's like you said, it's all about forcing the pressure and getting it engaged and enforcing your will as opposed to trying to snipe and take somebody out at the head with your head, which is crazy.
It does happen. I mean, the only thing I would say in the fights in rugby are a little bit more real because they're not going to break their hand on someone's helmet. Let's face it. There's a great phrase in rugby when two teams, they do that kind of pushy shovery thing.
Yeah.
The commentators normally or the announcers would just turn around. Oh, they got the handbags out because they're not going to do anything. They're just pushing each other. And it's like,
so they don't actually They don't throw fisticuffs.
They can't. Oh no, I've seen people lose teeth.
Oh really? With a good fist fight?
Yeah, there's a few. There's a few, and the great part is because rugby's got this there's a infamous phrase about rugby versus football, as in soccer, and it's soccer is a sport played by gentlemen, watched by hooligans. Rugby is a game played by hooligans, watched by gentlemen. Because rugby fans are less there's banter, but there's very much shake each other's hand, well done, sing songs together, have a good time, we'll get you next time kind of thing. And it's very much that.
I can tell you that's then Buccaneer fans are rugby fans. And let me tell you why. Because we get all of our, we're a state income tax free state. We draw all of our revenues, unlike the whole world nowadays, from tourism. That's always been our bread and butter. And I'll tell you what, back in the day when the Bucs played in the NFC Central with the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, the Lions, I had some of the best tailgates I had every year. I was a season ticket holder forever, was when the Packers and the Bears, and we used to park in the same place, and we would have people come back several years over and over, and they would park next and by us, and we would all tailgate. Pretty much still goes on today with the Buckaholics and what they do over there at Raymond James Stadium. But that's the way it was. Did you want your team to win? Yes. But we would shake a hand, we would have a beer with them, we'd celebrate. And most of the time back then, the Bucs were getting their asses handed to them. So we really had to swallow. Yeah, while we're taking it on the backside there a little bit.
Here's the thing with rugby. So I'm a Wales supporter. I'm not an England supporter because I'm half German and I just can't support England in anything. So sorry, I do apologise. So I'm an adopted Wales supporter, and I went to watch and there's this thing that kind of happened, and I went to a pub to watch the game because that's what you do. You go and watch the pub. This is when I'm single, no kids, and I'm watching the game and get to know a few people. It's England versus Wales, the ultimate grudge match. It is. I would say if you're going to look at the best rivalry in rugby, it's England versus Wales because they can't stand each other. Their cultures are completely against each other. Their governments against each other. They can't stand each other. It's infamous.
So 40 years ago, it was the IRA, and it was the English and the fighting, and that's what the Welsh are. The Welsh are. I mean, I'm Welsh. My family is Welsh, largely Welsh. So we're basically, like dark Irish, right? I mean, isn't that what we are?
Kind of. So here's the thing. I'm watching this game. We win. I'm absolutely ecstatic. And this guy, England jersey, comes up to me and went, "Here you go, pint of Guinness.
Nice.
Spoils to the victor." So I drink my pint. We have a chat. We're chatting, what have you. And the next time we're playing, we win again. Fantastic. There he is with the pint, all ready to go. There you go for the victor. I was like, okay. We lose, and I'm there with him. And it became like a tradition. It was like
Nice.
you owe the other person a pint just because they beat you. And it was like shook the hands. You talked a bit about the game, and it was just it's such a different vibe. I've never been around a soccer game at a professional level. I mean, I've dabbled in it, but I've never really gotten into it. It's not, as soon as people start passing backwards, and it looks like they do that thing where they just kind of, it looks like they're kind of lazily kicking each other at the ball. That's where
Yeah.
I'm like, this is supposed to be competitive. Where's
Right.
the competition? I want aggression. I want someone to get after it. You know.
I want blood.
Why I can't get. I
Yeah.
admire the talent. I admire the skill
Oh, yeah.
and the athleticism, but I'm dumbfounded by the slowness, and I don't like how they chirp at referees.
I'll be honest with you. The most impressive thing for me about soccer, this is going to make me sound just so much like just a dumb American. I'm just impressed that the guys can slide across, literally halfway across the entire field, and never get grass burns on their knees. And I think we know, seeing what happened there in the Allianz Stadium last week with the Buccaneers and the way Brady was slipping around. Which again, Tom, why do you ask for Leonard to throw you that football when you can't even keep your feet? But that's the most impressive thing about
Here's my
soccer.
question about this: how do you not have metal cleats on a day where you've got to have equipment managers, right? They all have equipment managers. You go onto that game.
Yes.
Hey, Lenny, how's that field feel? Oh, that field, it's quite slippy. Yeah, get into the metal cleats. Get in the metal cleats. Grip the ground. Right? They will slow you down because they're designed to grip. But on a pitch that's slippery or greasy, as I've heard we use over here, a greasy pitch, you want to have your metal cleats. And that's why I say everywhere I go, unless I know what the weather forecast is and I know it's middle of September and I know I do not need my metal cleats, I will have my plastics with me. But I usually carry both with me because I don't know what the pitch is going to be like if I'm playing a game of rugby or playing a game of American football. And I will have both with me. And if I'm like, yeah, this pitch is really slippery, it's really greasy, I'll discard those and I'll go for the longer, deeper cleats that will hug the ground a bit more.
Yeah, you said greasy pitch. I think I dated a greasy pitch in high school. Longest relationship I ever had. Oh, I said pitch with a P. Come on, guys. What are you thinking, girls? But I'll tell you a story. You told me about the pint story, and I'll take you back. It was 1995. If you don't mind, a quick Buccaneer story. I don't want to bore you with this.
No. I love stories like this because they're organic. They're
yes.
Going with the flavor.
Yeah, it was 95. Hugh Culverhouse dies before the season, and all season the Baltimore Colts, we saw them move overnight in Mayflower trucks from Baltimore out to St. Louis. We knew the Browns. Art Modell moves the Browns to Baltimore. They're the Ravens. So basically, the entire world knew the value of a football team. So long story short, Hugh Culverhouse dies before the season. It goes through the entire season. There's these rumors everywhere because the team was being held in a 3-person trust for the sake of for Gay Culverhouse, Hugh's widow, and his son, Hugh Jr. So the 3-man trust is holding on to this team all season, and rumors are flying that they're going to move here, they're going to move there, they're going to move here, they're going to move there. And so it was the last game of that season. It was the last game. It was a home game against the Green Bay Packers. We still played again in the NFC Central. And again, that was the same group of Packer fans that we kind of grown accustomed to seeing. And it was the last game. It was a beautiful day, kind of like a beautiful sunny fall day. And the Bucs lose the game. The Packers, Brett Favre was quarterback and Jackie Harris, and they basically made the playoffs on that game. But after the game, we're in the parking lot. They come out. The Packers fans, my family, were all tailgating. And they came out. Not only did they stay, and we stayed the longest to this day, 50 years. I'm 53 years old now. I've been going to games since I was 7. The longest tailgate I ever stayed after the game because it was the Packers. Because they realized that it was going to be the last time they were going to get to see their beloved Packers play at the Big Sombrero or Tampa Stadium, just as much as we realized it may be the last time we'd see our Buccaneers play here in Tampa. So we celebrated that together. And when they went to leave that night, they gave me a little, it was a glass vial. They had jumped over the fence when the security took the nets away, and they grabbed a big piece of sod and they put the pieces of sod in the vials because they wanted to have a last piece of that grass. Of course, they ended up staying because the Glazier family, Malcolm Glazier, buys him, keeps him here, savior forever in Tampa Bay here. And of course, the rest is history. But yeah, that's the thing about sports we love. If you can't have good nature about it and make friendships and, okay, here's a pint for you. You won today. Congratulations to the victor go the spoils. Then what's the sense in being fun and having with this? Like people were tanking off the Bucs train because the Bucs were 4-5 and, the world is ending. We're out of the Super Bowl hunt. They suck. And it's like, no, it's your team. You got to stay with them through the good and the bad. This time we've had a lot of good lately. So let's keep enjoying that for now.
Exactly. And you've got to remember the Buccaneers, we've had 2 years where, let's face it, we were not great before that. And now we have 2 years of pure, the first year was emerging greatness. And we win the Super Bowl, which was a beautiful way to cap it off. See, I had us doing this the opposite way around. I had us having the same season that we had the first season, but going out the way we did it last season. So we'd win a playoff game, we'd go to the next playoff game, and we'd either win it or we would lose it, or we'd get to the NFC Championship game and then we'd lose. But we have playoff experience. We come in the next year, Tom Brady's second year, bish, bash, bosh, boom, Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. Obviously, It goes completely opposite way. The Buccaneers go and win the Super Bowl, ecstatic, obviously. And I remember being in complete disbelief over that game because I was sat with my wife. We were watching the game together, and my wife says, "I think you've won the Super Bowl." And I'm like, "No, we ain't won nothing yet. We ain't won nothing until those are at zeros. I'm not convinced we won nothing."
Shut up! I'm kidding.
It's like, no, I really think you have. And she probably was right, and I probably was at the back of my mind. It was like kind of tapping at me, and I'm like, "Yeah, but we know that this guy here can turn it on a sixpence when he needs to, or turn it on a dime, as you guys would say." Version.
Coach, I know that you're locking it down. The person I know that has the most, knowledge following the Buccaneers on your side of the pond there, my friend. But I'll tell you, from boots on the ground here in Tampa, it was a pandemic. They had to fax the contract to a brother-in-law of John Spytek who could take it over to an apartment because Brady was in New York. He had to get an independent doctor to do his physical. Tom gets here. Mayor Castor writes him up goes over. He's in a park when the parks were all closed because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19. And then they start meeting at Berkeley Prep. And then we're looking at the helicopter, Eagle 8's flying over and showing the pictures of, Gronkowski and Jensen and, Godwin and Evans. And the thing is, same as you, didn't want to say, oh, we've got this Super Bowl till we had 55 in the bag. But, man, we were so much further ahead of every other team as far as the way we were locked in and working together. And that was the Tom Brady effect that we just loved. And that's why it was such a perfect storm. It is the most romantic. This is the kind of fairy tale that our kids can tell their kids if we tell them proper to remember.
Yeah, because when we look at the 0-2 one, it was one of those that eventually it was going to happen. It was just a case of when. Yeah, so there are teams out there who have years of greatness that don't achieve it, but it was a case of like if let's say for the sake of argument, you were the I can't even get it out. Purple people eaters. God, it took me a minute to get out of that. Whew, that was a tongue tie for a second. And they win one. You wouldn't be surprised. Because of how talented they were. You wouldn't be, but they didn't, and that's history, right?
Yeah.
But you look at the Buccaneers, they won. It was eventually going to happen at some point. They'd have been incredibly unlucky if they didn't.
Yeah.
And this was completely out of the blue. No one saw this coming. This was windswept, side swipes, whatever you want to call it. We snagged Tom Brady. No one. If you put money on Tom Brady coming to Tampa, you probably were a very rich man.
I mean, we
do gamble too.
Now Jameis throws his 33rd interception of the season, a pick six, just like Tom's last pass as a Patriot was a pick six against Logan Henry, of course, now playing with him for the Bucs. But or is he playing? Yeah, no, he's playing. But the point I'm making is that while we're going off the air at Bucs Report, we're going off the air. We're already trying to make arguments for why Jameis still should get that next year, that another contract or at least an extension to see what he can do. Because 33 interceptions, but 30 touchdowns, over 5,000 yards. When Jameis said check the stat sheet, he wasn't completely off. He was just saying check the stat sheet, but fold it over where you don't see the interceptions because you can't check the stat sheet.
And there had to be a fold in that page, trust me.
Fold in that page. But then all of a sudden, Bruce Arians at the combine says, "What's behind door number 2?" And all of a sudden, now there's a door number 2, and of course, it ends up being Tom Brady. Nobody saw it. Yeah, it was a great.
I was expecting Teddy Bridgewater was going to be the quarterback for the.
I didn't feel Teddy. I honestly, Coach, I've made this argument. People gave me shit about it. Pardon my French. I'll just say it. I'm passionate. They gave me shit. 33 interceptions was bad. And Jameis has regressed and progressed at times in New Orleans over the last 3 seasons. And going with Dennis Allen this year and under Sean Payton's tutelage, Jameis never got it. But going back to Bruce Arians that turned a punter at Temple into a quarterback on 3 weeks' notice because he had no quarterback, and the punter threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns on the day, a punter. I would have paid admission to see James in a second year in this system. But every time he throw the ball, I'd still be doing this because the interceptions were there. But in retrospect of having Tom Brady, anybody else behind door number 2, I would have made an argument that Jameis could have been your best move. But because look at Teddy Bridgewater. What's he done in 3 years? He's hasn't really done. He's not lighting anyone up. Jacoby Brissett, Geno Smith. These guys are all great. No,
but I believe he had a serviceable year at that year, didn't he? Had a service. I can't remember who he was with, but he had a decent year. It wasn't special, wasn't great. I can't remember who he was with, if I'm brutally honest. But
Bridgewater? He was with the Panthers, right? Wasn't he with the Panthers? And then he went to the Dolphins, but the Panthers ended up getting him. And it's like, here, he's decent. I'm not putting him down. What I'm saying is that
I get what you meant, and you got to remember the discount you're going to get on Jameis Winston because no one else was signing him. He signed for a record high.
Yeah, so, I think it would have been a harder sell
because locked him up for a 5-year contract costing $10 million. I'm not saying they actually would have.
Well, Jameis said after the fact that his camp was told that you're keep your. He didn't say this exactly. I'm paraphrasing, but they're basically Bucs camp said. Jason Light supposedly said, "Keep your phone handy. We'll be in touch." Not knowing, or maybe already knowing that maybe Tom Brady was going to be the guy, but didn't want to show their hand. But my point is that, of course, Jameis drafted number 1 overall in 2015. You're going to have to – it's going to be a hard sell for the kid. You're going to go, look, you were a first-round pick, number 1 overall. But, yeah, nobody's knocking on your door at all. And I think Jameis would have wanted another year in this Bruce Arians system because he realized – I always said Jameis' problem is he couldn't read a defense. He had the best arm. He still has a great arm, but he can't do those Tom Brady pre-snap reads. So that's why this offense struggles for him because this offense is predicated upon looking at the defensive tendencies, see where your open receiver is going to be and know where to apply the pressure. But anyway, I think we're going off on a tangent here. I'm just saying that if Tom Brady – I think that Jameis – and here's the thing. Want to hear something that's crazy? I think Kyle Trask should get his time if they're really developing. If Bruce Arians knows he's working with this kid, if he's the guy, Blaine Gabbert's not going to be here. He's 72 years old. I don't know how much longer he's got. I think there's a decent chance that if Tom plays again, I think that I would say 75% chance of 100% that he plays here in Tampa Bay. I don't think he's going to go at the age of 46 and try to get a new offensive rhythm. He's got Ryan Jensen locked down for a 3-year contract. He's got all of his receivers, pretty much under contract here. Jason Light would have to do some creative stuff with the salary cap. But
nothing that we've not done before.
I did 7,000 views the day Jameis retired. I was live. Johnny Dean said, "Ray, go live." I was doing my Sunday morning cup of Ray, and Johnny Dean said, "Ray, go live and go early," because Jameis's camp just agreed in principle with this New Orleans Saints on a contract. Brady was already signed here. This is big news. I went live 25 minutes early over here at Seminole Park. Got 7,000 views. I said on the show that day that love having Tom Brady here. Didn't know a Super Bowl was in our near immediate future because this was still the first month of the pandemic, March of 2020. But I said that at the time, I can see a world, having been a Bucs fan my entire life since 1976 and some of the crazy shit that's happened, I could see it coming back around and Jameis coming back to the Buccaneers someday. Now, do I think it's possible at this point? Probably not, but I'll tell you what, I think that he's going to be one of those quarterbacks that are on the open market next year at a very discounted rate. And if Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, if they think that there's a chance that kid could be the guy, because Tom Brady retires and goes to chase Giselle on the beach with the jiu-jitsu coach or wherever she's at, I think as a Bucs fan, this is the team that traded away their first round pick in '83 for Jack to throw in Samoan Thompson from Cincinnati. In '83, we could have picked Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, John Elway, but instead we lose Doug Williams. We have Joe, so crazy stuff as a Buccaneers fan. So we've seen stuff. Stay tuned. We always have crazy stuff in store for us.
We always have crazy stuff, and we are a little bit off topic, but it's still
sorry.
It's food for thought, though, isn't it? Because we don't know what's going to happen with Tom Brady, and I always wanted, deep down, like in my own personal thing, because I became a Bucs fan, I think, just before we drafted him. So the year before, Mike Evans' year was my first year when I first became aware of football and really started to get into it and what have you. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for Jameis Winston, because I've always said being a Bucs fan when Jameis Winston was around was like living on a roller coaster. There were real highs and there were real lows.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But the highs were real fun. They were real fun. There were some genuine fun games. And don't get me wrong, all the games pretty much over the last 2 years have been pretty stonking with Tom Brady at the helm. But even with Jameis Winston, there were games where you were excited because you never knew what was going to happen. It was a roller coaster ride. Yeah, you'd sometimes get the dud, and you'd be like, "Why we got this guy? What's going on?" And then there's the days, "Oh, that's why we got the guy, because he can do this and he can do that." And he had those crazy plays that occasionally just reeled off out of nowhere that he had no business kind of completing or doing. Remember the play against the Bears when he literally just ran around in circles for about 2 seconds and then threw the ball.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, make sure you share this show with Dee Winston on Facebook, because she's a relative and a good close friend of Jameis's. But I'm here to tell you right now, I think Jameis has also got a really raw deal in New Orleans. Nothing was guaranteed him. He was there under Sean Payton's tutelage. He was backing up Drew Brees. We saw him progress over a couple of years, but then they got him to stick around again this year. I don't think any teams were knocking on his door this year, although I still don't know with some of the teams, even the Atlanta Falcons, who went and got Marcus Mariota, who ended up, ironically, he was number 2 in 2015, drafted just behind Jameis. But Jameis has gotten screwed. Andy Dalton is not the quarterback in New Orleans. And Taysom Hill, he's exciting and big guy, but they could effectively run a Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill 1-2 pop if Dennis Allen was a little more creative offensively. Jameis has gotten a bum deal. I hope he's either made enough money to that him and his beautiful wife Brianna and their family can afford to just walk away from it and go back to Alabama and have a great time.
He'll be fine.
He's going to be fine, but I think he still gets a shot somewhere else because
he's too darn talented to go anywhere. He'll make money just being a backup if he needs to. But look, the thing, this is why one of the things that irked me a little bit. I was like, I'd love to have Tom and Jameis come with us so he can just learn that preset.
Yes,
that. I mean, there's a lot of pride that's got to be swallowed. There's pride that's got to be swallowed to go back to the team that kind of, let's face it, cut you and pick somebody else. It's not like they picked anybody else. They picked the GOAT. He said he felt like he got a PhD in football when he went to the Saints with Sean Payton, and obviously having a future Hall of Famer. And let's face Drew Brees will be a future Hall of Famer. It's a lock. It's guaranteed, pretty much. No one's going to be shocked.
Oh, no, 100%.
Exactly.
Have you noticed that
Imagine if you could take that no risk it, no biscuit, which suits Jameis Winston with the arm talent, and he could take what he could get from a Tom Brady, who's like, dude, it's like this, it's like that. And we're not saying it might have been an absolute failure, but the Buccaneers are only adding to their chips right now. When the Buccaneers, let's say for the sake of argument, Tom Brady, we win. Let's go mental here. Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady goes, I'm done. I'm out of here. I've done everything I needed to do. If I come back another year, I'm probably going to lose again, and I just can't be bothered to keep chasing another one. I'm done. There's a lot of money waiting for me. Let's go do it. The Buccaneers now have to go and find a quarterback. I'm looking at everyone that's cheap that's got talent, and I'm bringing them all to my camp, and I'm going to go with the top 3. They will be my 3 quarterbacks going forward.
Coach, let me tell you, you got your next quarterback is already on this roster. I've had this argument. I've had a discussion. I went to the preseason games this year at home with the basic intent on seeing the things I can't see on TV and the things I haven't been able to see since we couldn't. Even when we were covering the Buccaneers in 2020 because of COVID, nobody was there until the end of the season. And then last year doing pre and post game shows, not having time to go to the stadium. And I got a chance to watch Kyle Trask, not only in warmups and on the field. I wanted to see, because Bruce Arians was on the bench sitting next to Todd Light with his arms crossed, enjoying the stuff going on. But then I watched Kyle Trask and offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich both throwing passes to the receivers or the defensive backs it would be a DB on a DB. One DB would be backing up, pedaling. One would go out for a pass, and then they would flip, and then one would go back to the line. Anyway, long story short, I watched Trask and Leftwich going back and forth, and they were like kids in a playground having fun time. No, look, my throw's better. My throw's better. Then I watched Kyle Trask have a couple of drives in that Miami game, late in the game, where I was like, he could be the guy. He definitely has the possibility of being the guy. I think Kyle Trask is the guy. I just don't – I wonder why we still don't see it. Like, I saw a picture from Munich, and we saw Tom Brady standing next to Blaine Gabbert, standing next to Ryan Griffin, and I didn't see Kyle Trask anywhere. Now, unless they still got that kid locked up.
I just assumed that he was in that photo. But yes, thinking back at it, I remember saying, first thing I was like, Ryan Griffin's still on the team?
Yeah, he's like standing there.
He was still on the team.
They got Kyle Trask locked in the COVID room. Are we still doing that where we keep a quarterback somewhere like a secret agent in case we have to bring him out? I mean, what the hell? So I don't know.
Why wouldn't he travel to Munich?
Because he was there.
You're in the ultimate position. Like, you're the ultimate position. You're the third string quarterback. You get to actually enjoy Munich for what Munich actually is.
Hell yeah! You're out partying with the ladies.
Well, maybe not partying, but you're going around. You're sightseeing because there's no obligations. You have no media obligations. You have no nothing. You're just there.
Well, remember, I'll take you back. You're gonna remember this picture. New Orleans, 2020, first game of the year. The Bucs are in New Orleans. There's no one in the stadium. Was it the first game? Whatever it was, we were in New Orleans. Yeah, I think it was the first game. There's no one in the stadium. And at one time the Bucs are on a field and New Orleans is on a field, and they pan to the left. What I can assume, I've been in the what is now the Caesars Dome, but at the time it was And there's 3 or 4 practice squad players sitting there, and you see Josh Rosen sitting there like he's being forced to be there. He's like sitting there going, "I hate this," because he's on the Bucs practice squad, and he's just sitting. He's just like over 3 chairs, just sitting there watching the game, and you're like, "This is weird." But yet, so I'm making that analogy to what's going on. But I'm telling you, I saw Kyle Trask. He's going to need to you're going to have to take your lumps with Kyle Trask because he's going to be like any other first, second year quarterback when he does get a chance to start. But I've seen enough to know that I would be about seeing how he gets seeing the Kyle Trask experiment to see if he is the guy after 3, and what'll be at the time 3 years to develop in the league, right? 3 years to get a chance to lock down a professional offense.
I'm not a Trask hater. I don't care about where you come from in university, myself being a Seminoles fan.
I'm sorry.
Him being a Florida Gator means nothing to me. He's a Buccaneer. That's all that matters as far as I'm concerned. But I would want to surround him with talent that could potentially take his job because competition breeds success.
Yeah, sir.
There are a couple of guys out there you probably wouldn't have to pay a lot of money for. A Jameis Winston, perhaps. Maybe a Gardner Minshew. You put those 3 and a Blaine Gabbert already there. That's 4 quarterbacks that probably cost less than $5 million combined, and you can just see who's going to win out. Let's have our own survivor games.
Yeah, well, you got Mitch Trubisky's going to be out there with Kyle Ritter.
No. I'm not. No.
Why no Mitch Trubisky? You're Trubisky.
I just don't buy it. I don't know. There's something about him. I don't buy it.
What about the fact that if Tom Locke gets 57 out there in Arizona, the Bucs get their 3rd championship in team history. Tom Brady decides, all right, I want to flip the script. And San Francisco, they think Trey Lance is the guy, but they're like, wouldn't hurt for the guy to have 1 year behind the GOAT. The GOAT's going home to where his family's at, San Mateo, other side of the country. He could put Giselle and everything behind him.
A realistic possibility.
And you know what? Then send Garoppolo over. They can both be on returning flights. We'll take Garoppolo here, and we'll take Garoppolo for a year or 2. He'll come here for a decent price, and we'll put him into an offense. Basically, it wouldn't be the first time that Tom Brady backup has went and followed him to another location or had success somewhere else. And so you talk about 2022 is going to be an interesting year with a lot of quarterbacks. And I think after the Russell Wilson experiment blows up in Denver's face, a little bit, and with
just
some
don't
of the other
for a quarterback, just don't do it. Unless they have been...
Yeah, don't pay them big money, but put talent around them, like you said.
Yeah, put talent around them. And if the worst part was, it's not like he was playing well when they did the contract offer. That was the crazy part. They got him. It cost him 2 first-round picks and whatever the trade was at the time, which was a lot of people said it wasn't too bad for the talent level that you get a Russell Wilson for. Yeah, it's acceptable at the time. If you were looking the bank transfer coming in. The transfer rate wasn't too bad. Now he plays a couple of games and they go, oh yeah, here's a boatload of money to stay here, even though you're not playing too well. And we're hearing about falling out with players. We've had Seattle Seahawks players in Richard Sherman make jokes about how it's hard to contact the guy, that you have to speak to his management, and he lives in his own little bubble. He doesn't interact with anybody. He thinks he's Jay-Z. Him and his wife think they're Jay-Z and Beyonce, and they're walking around like they're posers and what have you.
The guy shows up at what, Broncos facility in August, and he goes up and he's wearing his own jersey, not because he wanted to have it on him like we used to wear our football shirt to school day of a game, but just because he's like, yeah, it's me. I'm Russell Wilson. I'm wearing it. I'm going to go put on another one to practice in, but this is me. I'm wearing me. And you're like, wow, that's a little bit self-centered, kind of weird. I don't know, maybe.
Come across as like he kept that really quiet because he did not. He was so introverted as a player from what we saw in Seattle, and then you're hearing about like Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch literally ripping him to pieces, saying, "I'd like to contact him, but I'd have to speak to his management first."
Damn. Yeah,
and that's when they were teammates. So it just shows like they're like, "Have you reached out to Richard yet? If you reached out to Russ yet?" And he went, "No, I'm still waiting to hear back from his manager." And you're like,
"Yeah, 100%."
They're going to town on these guys, and it is the way it is. And yeah, the Russell Wilson experiment has not gone well. The worst part was they decided to extend him. Even like I would wait.
Oh yeah. Well, the guy. The new owner of the team, he's like, I own Walmart, so whatever. I don't care what it costs me. But you're like, no, dude, you got to deal with the salary cap. You got to deal with the salary cap. It's stupid.
Yeah, hey, I want to make a statement. I've just bought the team. I want to make a statement. My statement is I'm going all in on Russell Wilson. And then all of a sudden he's rolled snake eyes.
Yeah, I mean, and now you're right. Maybe Daniel Hackett wasn't the guy, the offensive coordinator. Maybe now you're thinking, wow. Now that Rodgers is like 100% out of Green Bay after this season, because it's either Jordan Love or at this point, the Packers might be drafting high enough to go after another first-round quarterback. But Aaron Rodgers, now he could have that, go out and be with Daniel Hackett there in Denver. And now it's like, oh, you know what? You can't because you just gave Russell Wilson a 72-year, $300 billion contract. So you can't do that. They're in bad straits. Yeah, they're not in good place.
Yeah, and I think the Buccaneers are just going to learn from just don't go big too soon. It's okay to be cautious. And the Buccaneers were very lucky in getting Tom because Tom Brady doesn't demand a lot of salary because he's smart enough to know that he needs talent around him. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And people can turn around and say, oh, well, he went to a team that's full of talent. Wouldn't you? No, I'll tell you what, I'll just struggle with this team that's really mediocre and see if I can make something happen because I will get a little tick on the box because of that. And it doesn't mean anything. We're seeing Aaron Rodgers now, his selfishness is kind of kicking him in his own ass because he's got this vibe of being a selfish human being. He's got this vibe of being self. He took a boatload of money. His best receiver leaves him, and now he looks mediocre. He was always talented.
I got a tweet from Ian Rappaport late this afternoon. You probably saw it too. Something about it looks like the Las Vegas Raiders will be releasing Derek Carr after the season. And I'm like, there's another deal. They bring in Devontae Adams because they're going to.
Now that's an interesting development because he is a playoff level quarterback.
Yeah.
He's been to playoffs at least twice in his career. He has had talent around him and it's been taken away. He's had poor coaching here and there. You give him the keys to this offense, maybe he can do a little bit more. He's got that guy liner look going on. So, that's his vibe. I would not be opposed to a Derek Carr as long as it doesn't cost the Buccaneers a lot of investment. And the thing hearing about the Raiders now that they can't get rid of their coach because they're so poor, they have no money left to pay the next coach. Because what a lot of people don't realize is when you get fired, you don't get fired and your salary is gone. You get a proportion of your salary that was guaranteed.
Right.
So if they agree to a fully guaranteed contract for 5 years or what have you at $10 million a year, yeah, I'd like to go and get a drink, but unfortunately I'm hosting. I'll get another one between me and Teresa's show.
Did you know that I had gone? Hey, when is your and Teresa's show? We're going overboard here. Maybe I need to get off. I'm sorry.
We have gone a little bit over, but that's absolutely fine because I haven't spoken to you in so long.
It's been a minute, brother.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's good.
I'll probably go off in the next 10 minutes or what have you, and then mine and Teresa's show starts at 9, so we'll be ready to go buck wild on that one. So
buck wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got the aftermath as well. We're doing, which is like kind of no holds barred, put your balls on the table, and kind of rant about the
nice.
team. We got a guy, AJ Turner, who does a show called About Buc'n Time. He does some content there, and he is very anti Leftwich. It's very
Oh,
entertaining to go toe to toe with him on that because I'm very much. On this offense, I put blame on everyone. There's
mm.
not one single thing I can say. It's only that
It was
offensive
no,
line play has been a bit poor.
brother. It
But
was
running
this
game,
team. They had no
not great.
identity going into that game against Seattle,
Yeah,
and it was all about. And they kept saying it was execution. It wasn't execution. They took it. Tom Brady came in 2020 and told this team that they could, and they found out that they could, and they did. In 2021, he almost single-handedly willed them back. Not single-handedly, but they almost got back there. But this year in 2022, this team, again, with everything that was going on with Tom, with the whatever they were doing with the play calling, like you said, so easy to fix, so easily read, so not lack of originality in the play calling. This team had
creativity.
it wasn't execution, it was passion. And that's what we saw. That was the take. And I'll let you go, brother, so you can land your show on your own. I appreciate you having me. But that's the takeaway from the best thing about that Seattle Seahawks game in Munich was that we saw passion in all three phases: offense, defense, special teams, and even from the coaches. You saw Todd Bowles with the passion when they win. He pumps the fist, and you're like, that's the Buccaneers we want to see for the remaining 7 games against the Cleveland Browns and the Cardinals on Christmas and all that. That's the team we want to see, and that's the team we're going to get.
And hopefully that's what we get. I'll let you go. If you want to
Yeah.
jump in with us later on tonight, if you're feeling it, come
Thank you,
join us.
brother.
And it's always a pleasure, sir. Never a chore.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one. Talk to you soon, Coach.
All right. See you soon, man. Okay, that was Tampa Bay Ray with his usual stuff. You can catch him on Cup of Ray on his own show that he does. Usually early morning for you guys, about afternoon for me. I'm not entirely sure of the exact time, but I should have got him to talk about it. Next time, we'll grab him and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's talk about what's coming up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, the Buccaneers grabbed themselves a big fat W. Not the one that you lick, unfortunately. Myself, personally, I've moved on. I'm no longer with the team beside my shoulders, coach of the year, of course. I've now moved on to a team called the Sandwell Steelers, and I will be their defensive backs coach going forward. On Monday, I would say Mondays, every time the Buccaneers have a game, the next day we do this with me and AJ Turner, the aftermath. It's no holds barred. We talk about Bucs football and we get nitty and gritty. Doesn't matter if it's win, loss. When it's lost, it can get hairy. When it's a win, it's a little bit happier, but the vibe is we're looking at what we can fix. Everyone's got an opinion. It is just get it out there. Of course, you got this bad boy, which we're watching right now across the Buc'n pond. And I'm going to leave you with a couple of memes before I finish up. And I'll be going on to Buck Wild with my co-host, Teresa Baxter, and we'll be doing Buck Wild for another week, obviously. And we will see you then. But these are the memes of the week. Justin Herbert leads the league in INTs that hit the receiver in the hands first. That face says it all. Every week, the NFL should get a guy and just hire a guy off the couch to see if they can beat Josh McDaniels. This should be the highest selling jersey in the NFL. Just checking if Broncos country is still riding. Sorry to Eyes, my Broncos fan who I know very well. I love him to pieces, but sorry. It's got to be sorry, not sorry. When you do nothing on the group and still get an A, just how bad you can always count on Aaron Rodgers to own the Dallas Cowboys. He owns Jerry World and Soldier Field. Breaking news after seeing the recent success of Jeff Saturday for the Colts, the Las Vegas Raiders are repeatedly in talks with high school coach Eric Taylor. And we all remember him and his state championship win. Aaron Rodgers stare into the camera when something goes wrong, like he's on an episode of The Office. Love that. Dolphins' offense was so dominant against the Browns that their punter had to take a nap mid-game. Bills fans start a petition to end overtime in the NFL because Josh Allen just can't win in overtime. This just in. If the game is still going to be played in Buffalo, This is what they're going to have to deal with. Just a reminder to cut. If you cut out toxic people in your life, Tom Brady's still undefeated. Detroit folding table retailers on Sunday. Boatload of cash. Devin Singletary takes his first snap and handoff from Josh Allen. After playing in Detroit for 2 straight weeks. Henry is now tied with Kenny Pickett for regular season touchdown passes of 2. The nightmares continue for Aaron Rodgers. Straight up. It's time to love, guys. It's time to love. And then finally, for the first time in years, Mike McCarthy's coaching helped the Packers win a football game. Guys, that's it from me. It's always a pleasure, never a chore. I'm going to go and get myself refreshed for another drink, and you'll see me on But Wild. Comments a bit quiet. I want you guys to get a little bit more involved in the comments. It's always appreciated. I'll read them out. You guys can come on if you want. No holds barred. Guys, I will see you soon. I want to thank Tampa Bay Ray. Ray, thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. Pump your stuff next time, bro. We got to pump your stuff because he does great stuff around. He's a great guy. So watch Cup of Ray if you can find it because he's around. And I will see you guys soon. I'll see you guys in the next just under 30 minutes. See you soon, guys. Much appreciated. Bucs on me. Bucs on free. Go Bucs.